The private elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and Cecilia stepped onto the executive floor of Park Industries' Manhattan headquarters. The space was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across every wall, flooding the reception area with natural light. The Manhattan skyline sparkled in the late morning sun, a postcard view that most people only dreamed about. Modern furniture in clean lines and neutral tones filled the space. Fresh flowers sat on every surface. The air smelled like money and power. Cecilia had been here dozens of times over the past 8 months, but the grandeur still made her catch her breath. Not because she was intimidated anymore, but because she remembered what her life had looked like before all of this. She remembered the tiny studio apartment in Queens with the broken radiator. She remembered counting coins to afford a subway pass. She remembered crying herself to sleep wondering if she would ever feel whole again. And she remembered him. The man who had broken her so completely that she almost forgot how to put herself back together. Cecilia smoothed the front of her white dress. It was custom-made, Italian silk, fitted perfectly to her frame in a way that made her feel elegant and powerful. Her dark hair fell in long, straight layers past her shoulders. Her makeup was minimal but flawless. She looked like a woman who belonged in this building. Because she did. She was walking toward Chan Young's corner office when she felt eyes on her. Not the usual glances from employees who recognized her as their boss's girlfriend. This was different. This gaze had a weight to it, a familiarity that made her skin prickle. Cecilia turned her head toward the reception waiting area. And her heart stopped. Derek Holloway was sitting on one of the sleek leather sofas, his arm draped casually around a blonde woman in an expensive dress. He was wearing a dark blazer over a light shirt, business casual, the kind of outfit he used to obsess over when they were together. His hair was styled the same way. His smile was the same smile. The smile that had once made her feel special. The smile that had eventually made her feel worthless. For a moment, Cecilia could not move. 2 years of healing, growing, and rebuilding suddenly felt paper thin. The old wounds threatened to crack open right there in the middle of this pristine corporate lobby. Derek looked up. Their eyes met. And instead of shock or embarrassment, Derek's face twisted into something cruel. Recognition mixed with amusement. Superiority mixed with mockery. He said something to the blonde woman beside him. She giggled behind her manicured hand, glancing at Cecilia with barely concealed disdain. Then Derek stood up. He straightened his blazer with the same theatrical gesture Cecilia remembered from their years together. The gesture that said he was about to perform for an audience. Well, well, well. His voice was loud, deliberately loud, loud enough for everyone in the reception area to hear. Look who it is. Cecilia's fingers tightened around her clutch purse. She willed herself to keep walking, to ignore him, to be the bigger person. But Derek stepped directly into her path. "Babe, come here," he called to the blonde woman. "You have to see this. This is Cecilia, my ex, the one I told you about." The blonde woman rose gracefully and walked over, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. She looked Cecilia up and down with the kind of dismissive gaze that rich people perfected over years of looking down on everyone else. "This is her," the woman said, her voice dripping with fake surprise. "She's pretty, I guess, in a basic kind of way." Derek laughed. "Right, I mean, she's improved a little since I last saw her, but some things never change." Cecilia felt heat rising in her chest. Her throat tightened. The old Cecilia would have looked at the floor. The old Cecilia would have mumbled an apology and walked away. The old Cecilia would have let him win. But she was not the old Cecilia anymore. "Derek," she said, her voice steady, "I don't have time for this. Please move." Derek's eyebrows shot up in exaggerated surprise. "Whoa, feisty now, are we?" He turned to his girlfriend. She used to be so quiet, so eager to please. I guess getting dumped taught her how to speak up. The blonde woman laughed again. Derek leaned closer to Cecilia, lowering his voice just enough to feel threatening, while still being audible to anyone nearby. "Let me guess, you're here for a job interview. Secretary, personal assistant. He looked at her dress with exaggerated curiosity. That's a nice outfit. Did someone loan it to you? Or are you one of those girls who wears something once and returns it to the store? Cecilia's jaw clenched. She could feel eyes on them, employees pretending to work while watching the drama unfold. Security guards shifting uncomfortably. I'm not going to do this with you, she said. Move out of my way. Derek did not move. His smile widened. You know what I love about running into you like this? It reminds me that I made the right choice. I upgraded. He gestured to the blonde woman. Vanessa comes from a real family, old money, connections, the kind of woman who opens doors instead of holding me back. Vanessa preened at the compliment, wrapping her arm around Derek's. You were always reaching for things you couldn't have, Derek continued. It's actually kind of sad, but hey, at least you're still trying. That's cute. Something inside Cecilia went very still. The anger did not disappear. It transformed. It became something cold and patient. She opened her mouth to respond. But before she could speak, a voice cut through the tension like a blade through silk. Is there a problem here? The words were calm, measured, but they carried an authority that made everyone in the reception area freeze. Cecilia turned. Chan-young Park stood just outside the door of his corner office. He was wearing a navy blue three-piece suit tailored so perfectly that it looked like it had been painted onto his body. White dress shirt, decorative pocket square. His dark hair was styled immaculately. His posture was straight, commanding, the posture of a man who had never been questioned in his life. But it was his eyes that made people stop breathing. They were fixed on Derek with an intensity that bordered on dangerous. Not angry, worse than angry, cold, calculating. The eyes of a predator who had already decided his prey was worthless but had not yet decided how to dispose of it. Two security guards, who had been standing near the windows, shifted forward instinctively, their hands moving to their sides. The entire reception area went silent. Derek's smirk faltered. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, fear. Cecilia watched him connect the dots. She watched him realize exactly whose building he was standing in, whose floor he was contaminating with his presence. Chan-young walked forward. His footsteps were unhurried, deliberate. Each step seemed to drain more color from Derek's face. When Chan-young reached Cecilia, he did not look at Derek. He looked only at her, and for just a moment, his expression softened into something tender. My love, he said quietly, who is this man speaking to you? The words hit Derek like a physical blow. His mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Chan-young turned to face him. The tenderness vanished instantly, replaced by something that made Vanessa take a small step backward. I asked you a question. Derek found his voice, though it came out weaker than before. I used to know Cecilia. We dated a few years ago. I was just saying hello. That is not what I heard. Chan-young's gaze swept over Derek like he was examining an insect. Then he looked at Vanessa, who seemed to be trying to disappear into the marble floor. You are Derek Holloway, Chan-young said. It was not a question. You have a meeting with my acquisitions team regarding a development project in Scottsdale, Arizona. Derek nodded eagerly, desperate to shift the conversation to business. Yes, that's right. It's a great opportunity. I've been looking forward to discussing. Stop talking. Derek stopped talking. Chan-young stepped closer to Cecilia. In full view of everyone in the reception area, he placed his hand gently on the small of her back. The gesture was protective, possessive, unmistakable. This woman, Chan-young said, still looking at Derek, is everything to me. She is not a secretary. She is not an assistant. She is the woman I love. And you just disrespected her in my building, in front of my employees, while asking for my money. Derek's face had gone completely white. I didn't know you two were, he trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Your ignorance does not excuse your behavior. Chan-young's voice remained calm, but there was ice beneath every word. Sit down. Do not speak to her again. Do not look at her. We will discuss whether you still have a meeting after I decide if I want to do business with someone who treats women the way you do." For a moment, Derek looked like he might argue. His pride flickered behind his eyes, the same pride that had made him dump Cecilia in the first place. The same pride that had convinced him he was better than everyone else. But even pride has limits. Derek sat down. Vanessa sat beside him, her earlier smugness completely evaporated. Chan Young turned to Cecilia. His hand was still on her back, warm and steady. "Come," he said softly. "Let me show you the view from my office. It is beautiful this time of morning." Cecilia allowed herself to be guided toward the corner office. She kept her head high. Her steps were measured and graceful. But just before she stepped through the doorway, she paused. She looked back at Derek. Their eyes met. He was hunched in his seat, his face a mask of humiliation and barely contained rage. The man who had once made her feel like nothing was now the one who felt small. Cecilia smiled. Not a cruel smile, not a mocking smile, just a quiet, peaceful smile that said everything words could not. "I survived you, I outgrew you, and I am happy now." Then she turned and walked into Chan Young's office, leaving Derek Holloway to sit in the ruins of his pride. "Now, before we continue with what happened next, I need you to do something real quick. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and hit that button right now. Because trust me, you do not want to miss what Chan Young does when he finds out the full story of how Derek treated Cecilia. This is about to get intense. Also, drop a comment and tell me what city you're watching from. I love seeing where all my viewers are tuning in from. And if you're watching without subscribing, I see you. Don't be shy. We're family here. Subscribe now and let's keep going." Chan Young's corner office was a masterpiece of modern design. The floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around 2 full walls, offering a panoramic view of Manhattan that most people would never see outside of movies. The furniture was minimalist, but expensive. A large mahogany desk dominated one side of the room. A sitting area with leather sofas and a glass coffee table occupied the other. Original artwork hung on the walls, pieces that Cecilia had learned were worth more than most houses. But right now, she barely noticed any of it. She stood by the window, her heart still racing from the encounter in the reception area. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, from the flood of emotions that seeing Derek had unleashed. Chan Young closed the office door and walked over to her. He did not speak immediately. Instead, he stood beside her, looking out at the city, giving her space to collect herself. That was something Cecilia had learned about him early in their relationship. Chan Young understood silence. He understood that sometimes people needed room to breathe before they could talk. It was a rare quality in a man of his power. After a long moment, she spoke. "I'm sorry about that." Chan Young turned to look at her. "Why are you apologizing?" "Because I froze. He ambushed me and I just stood there. I should have handled it better. I should have walked away before it got to that point." Chan Young's expression softened. He reached out and gently lifted her chin so she was looking at him. "You have nothing to apologize for. That man attacked you without provocation. You stood your ground. You did not cower. You did not cry." He paused. "Do you know how strong that is? Most people crumble when their past confronts them. You did not." Cecilia felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them back. "He just makes me feel like I'm back in that place again. That dark place I was in after he left me." "Tell me about that place." It was not a demand. It was an invitation. Chan Young had asked about her past before, and she had shared pieces of it. But there were parts she had held back, parts that felt too raw, too shameful to speak out loud. Maybe it was time. Cecilia walked over to the leather sofa and sat down. Chan Young followed, sitting beside her but not too close, giving her space. "We were together for 3 years, she began. "I met Derek when I was 22. He was charming, ambitious. He had all these dreams about building a business empire, and I believed in him. I believed in us." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I supported him through everything. When he was in business school, I worked double shifts to help pay his rent. When he was between jobs, I covered our expenses. When he had networking events, I would stay home so he could schmooze without worrying about introducing me to his fancy new friends. Chan Young's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but he said nothing. Then he started getting successful. He got promoted. He started getting invited to exclusive parties. He met people who came from old money, old families, and suddenly I wasn't good enough anymore. Cecilia's voice wavered, but she pushed through. He dumped me in a Starbucks parking lot in San Francisco, in public, where everyone could hear. He told me I was holding him back. He said I didn't fit his new lifestyle. He said I needed to find someone on my level. She let out a bitter laugh. On my level, like I was beneath him, like everything I had done for him meant nothing. Chan Young was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was controlled, but there was something dangerous beneath the surface. He broke you down to build himself up. Yes. And today, he tried to do it again. Yes. Chan Young stood. He walked to the window, his back to her. From this angle, Cecilia could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands had curled into fists at his sides. I do not tolerate people who hurt what is mine, he said quietly. And you, Cecilia, are mine, not as property, as my partner, my equal, my heart. He turned to face her. That man sitting in my reception area does not know who he has offended, but he is about to learn. Cecilia's breath caught. Chan Young, please don't do anything that will cause problems for you. He's not worth it. Chan Young walked back to the sofa and knelt in front of her. He took her hands in his. Let me ask you something. When he humiliated you in that parking lot, did anyone stand up for you? Cecilia shook her head. When he left you broken, did anyone help you pick up the pieces? No, I had to do it myself. Then let me be the one who finally defends you. Chan Young's eyes held hers with an intensity that made her heart ache. Not because you cannot defend yourself. You have proven that you can, but because you deserve to have someone in your corner, someone who will not let people hurt you without consequences. Cecilia felt a tear slip down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. What are you going to do? Chan Young smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who had built an empire by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone around him. I am going to have a meeting with Mr. Holloway, a very educational meeting. 45 minutes later, Derek Holloway was finally summoned to Chan Young's office. He had spent the entire waiting period sweating through his blazer. Vanessa had grown increasingly agitated, checking her phone every 30 seconds and shooting Derek looks of pure annoyance. Other business associates had walked past them in the reception area, recognizing Derek's humiliation and doing nothing to hide their amusement. By the time the assistant came to fetch him, Derek was a mess of anxiety and wounded pride. Mr. Park will see you now, the assistant said. Only you, your companion, will wait here. Vanessa looked like she wanted to argue, but something in the assistant's tone made her think better of it. She stayed seated. Derek followed the assistant down the hallway to the corner office. His footsteps echoed in the silence. His palms were sweating. He told himself to stay calm. This was still a business meeting. He could still salvage this. He was good at talking his way out of problems. He had been doing it his whole life. The assistant opened the office door and stepped aside. Derek walked in. The first thing he saw was Cecilia. She was seated on a leather sofa near the windows, her legs crossed, her expression completely unreadable. She looked like a queen holding court. The white dress practically glowed in the natural light. Her posture was perfect. Her gaze was steady. She did not look like the woman Derek remembered. The second thing he saw was Chan Young. The man was seated behind his massive desk, his fingers steepled in front of him. His navy suit was immaculate. His expression was calm to the point of being unsettling. He looked like a man who had already decided the outcome of this meeting and was simply going through the formalities. Sit, Chan Young said. Derek sat in the chair facing the desk. The leather was cold. For a long moment, no one spoke. Chan Young just looked at Derek with those unreadable eyes. Derek felt like he was being scanned, measured, found wanting. Finally, Chan Young broke the silence. I reviewed your proposal. Your company wants to partner with Park Industries on a luxury development project in Scottsdale. You need our funding, our connections, and our reputation to make it viable. Derek nodded, trying to muster his usual confidence. Yes, it's a solid investment opportunity. The market analysis shows significant potential for returns, if you look at the projections. I am not interested in your projections. Derek's mouth snapped shut. Chan Young leaned forward. I am interested in your character, and based on what I witnessed in my reception area, your character is severely lacking. Look, Derek said, spreading his hands in what he hoped was a reasonable gesture. I apologize for earlier. I didn't realize that Cecilia and you were together. It was just a misunderstanding. We have history, and sometimes old feelings make people say stupid things. Old feelings? Chan Young's voice was flat. Is that what you call publicly humiliating a woman who did nothing but walk past you? I wasn't trying to humiliate her. I was just... You called her a gold digger. You implied she was only here because of her body. You mocked her in front of your girlfriend, in front of my employees, in front of everyone in that room. And you expect me to believe that was just old feelings. Derek's face reddened. That's not. I didn't exactly say those things. You said enough. Chan Young stood. He walked around the desk slowly, his movements deliberate. Derek tried not to shrink in his chair, but it was difficult when 6 feet and 2 inches of barely contained menace was circling him like a shark. I also did some additional research on you, Mr. Holloway. It is remarkable what you can learn about a person in 45 minutes when you have the right resources. Derek's stomach dropped. What kind of research? Chan Young stopped directly in front of him. 3 years ago, you were drowning in debt, student loans, credit cards, a car payment you could not afford. Do you know how you survived? Derek said nothing. Cecilia, she worked 2 jobs to keep you afloat while you pursued your MBA. She sacrificed her own career to invest in yours. And when you finally found success, you discarded her like she was garbage. That's not. I'm not finished. Derek closed his mouth. You then went on to date a series of women you considered more advantageous to your career. Women with family money, women with business connections, women you could use as stepping stones. Chan Young paused. The woman currently sitting in my reception area is the 4th such woman in 2 years. Derek's face went pale. How do you know that? I know everything, Mr. Holloway. It is my job to know everything. And what I know about you tells me that you are a parasite. You attach yourself to people who can benefit you, drain them of their resources, and move on when you find a better host. Chan Young walked back behind his desk and sat down. Your proposal is denied. Derek lurched forward in his chair. What? You can't just... I can, and I am. Additionally, I will be making some phone calls this afternoon. By tomorrow morning, every major development firm in New York, Palo Alto, Seattle, and Bellevue will know that Park Industries finds you unreliable, unethical, and unworthy of partnership. The blood drained from Derek's face. You're going to blacklist me over a personal matter. Over character. Chan Young's voice was ice. I do not do business with men who treat women the way you do, and I certainly do not enrich men who have caused pain to the woman I love. Derek stared at him, his mind racing. His entire career flashed before his eyes. Years of climbing, schmoozing, backstabbing, all of it suddenly threatened by a man he had underestimated. He turned to look at Cecilia, desperation creeping into his voice. Cecilia, come on, you can't let him do this. We had some problems, sure, but we were young. People make mistakes. You can't destroy my entire career over a bad breakup. Cecilia looked at him for a long moment. Her expression did not change. You're right, she said finally. People do make mistakes. I made a mistake when I stayed with you for 3 years. I made a mistake when I put my dreams on hold to support yours. I made a mistake when I let you convince me that I wasn't good enough. She stood and walked toward the window, her back to him. But here's the thing, Derek. I learned from my mistakes. I grew. I became someone stronger. She turned to face him. Have you? Derek opened his mouth, but no words came out. Because from where I'm standing, Cecilia continued, you're still the same person you were 2 years ago, still measuring your worth by the people you can use, still tearing down anyone who makes you feel insecure, still desperately chasing a version of success that will never make you happy. She walked over to stand beside Chan Young's desk. His hand reached out automatically, and she took it. I used to hate you, she said softly. I used to lie awake at night replaying every cruel thing you ever said to me, but I don't hate you anymore. I pity you, because you will never know what it feels like to love someone without an agenda, to be loved by someone who sees you clearly and chooses you anyway. Derek stared at her, at the woman he had discarded like trash, at the woman who now stood in a Manhattan penthouse office, wearing a dress that cost more than his car, holding hands with one of the most powerful men in the city. He had no response. Chan Young pressed a button on his desk. A moment later, 2 security guards entered the office. Please escort Mr. Holloway out of the building, Chan Young said. His meeting is concluded. Derek was too stunned to resist as the guards flanked him. He stumbled to his feet, his legs unsteady. At the door, he turned back one last time. Cecilia was not looking at him. She was looking at Chan Young, and the expression on her face was something Derek had never seen when she was with him. It was peace, it was love, it was belonging. The door closed behind him. 8 months earlier. The rain was falling in sheets over Tribeca, turning the streets into rivers and the sidewalks into obstacle courses. Cecilia had been walking home from a job interview, her 5th that month, when the downpour began without warning. She ducked into the first open door she could find. It was a small Korean restaurant, the kind of place that did not advertise and relied on word of mouth. The interior was warm and smelled of garlic and sesame. Soft music played from hidden speakers. There were only a handful of tables, most of them empty. Cecilia stood in the doorway, dripping water onto the floor and feeling completely out of place. Her interview clothes were soaked. Her hair was plastered to her face. Her mascara was probably running down her cheeks. A kind-looking older woman appeared and handed her a towel without a word. Thank you, Cecilia said, dabbing at her face. I just need to wait out the rain. I can leave if you're closing soon. No, the woman said in accented English. You stay, you eat, you get warm. Cecilia hesitated. She had exactly $23 in her checking account until her next unemployment payment came through. She had been planning to make a box of pasta last the rest of the week. But the restaurant smelled so good, and she was so tired. And the interview had gone badly, and she knew it. She knew that she would not be getting a call back. She knew that tomorrow she would have to start the process all over again. What's the cheapest thing on your menu? She asked quietly. The older woman smiled. For you, everything is cheap tonight. Cecilia was led to a small table near the back of the restaurant. She ordered a bowl of bibimbap, the most affordable item she could find, and sat alone with her thoughts. That is when she noticed the man. He was sitting in a corner booth, his back to the wall, facing the door. A habit, she would later learn, that came from years of needing to see threats before they could get close. But in that moment, she just thought he looked lonely. He was reading a book. An actual physical book, the pages yellowed and worn from use. No phone on the table, no laptop, just him and the words on the page. He was beautiful in a severe kind of way. Sharp features, dark hair swept back from his forehead, a suit that looked more expensive than anything Cecilia had ever owned. He sat with the stillness of someone who had nothing to prove to anyone. Cecilia must have stared too long, because he looked up. Their eyes met. She expected him to look away, or to give her the dismissive once-over that attractive, wealthy men usually gave women who looked like drowned rats. Instead, he held her gaze for 3 full seconds, studying her, seeing something that made him pause. Then he returned to his book. Cecilia's food arrived. She reached for her wallet, already preparing for the humiliation of a declined card. No charge, the server said. Cecilia blinked. What? The gentleman. The server nodded toward the man in the corner. He paid for everyone's meal tonight. He does this sometimes. Cecilia looked at the man again. He was still reading, apparently unconcerned with the attention his generosity was attracting. Something strange happened in her chest, something that felt almost like hope. Before she could talk herself out of it, she stood up and walked over to his table. He did not look up immediately. He finished the sentence he was reading, marked his place with a leather bookmark, and then raised his eyes to meet hers. "Thank you," Cecilia said, "for the meal, but I can't accept charity." The man considered her for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was deep and measured. "It is not charity." "Then what is it?" "An apology." Cecilia frowned. "For what?" "For whatever happened to you today that put that look in your eyes." He paused. "The world is cruel enough. Tonight you eat for free." He returned to his book. Cecilia stood there, unsure what to do. The old Cecilia, the one Derek had shaped, would have thanked him again and returned to her table. She would have eaten quickly and left. She would have gone home to her tiny apartment and cried herself to sleep. But something about this man made her feel brave. She sat down across from him. He looked up again, and this time there was something like amusement in his eyes. "I'm Cecilia," she said. He closed his book. "Chan Young. Do you always pay for strangers' meals?" "Only when the strangers look like they are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders." Cecilia let out a small laugh. It felt foreign in her throat. She could not remember the last time she had laughed. "That obvious, huh?" "I have a talent for reading people." Chan Young signaled to the server, who hurried over. "Bring her something warm to drink, tea, and whatever she wants to eat. The bibimbap is not enough for someone who has been walking in the rain." The server nodded and disappeared. Cecilia shook her head. "You really don't have to do this." "I know." "Then why are you?" Chan Young studied her for a moment. His gaze was intense, but not in a way that felt intrusive. It felt like he was trying to understand something about her, something important. "Because you walked over here," he said finally. "Most people would have taken the free meal and left. You questioned it. That tells me you have pride. And pride, in my experience, is something that rarely survives this city intact." Cecilia did not know what to say to that, so she said nothing. The tea arrived, hot and fragrant. More food followed. And somehow, Cecilia found herself telling this stranger things she had not told anyone. About Derek, about the breakup, about moving to New York with nothing but 2 suitcases and a shattered sense of self, about the endless job rejections and the growing fear that she would never be good enough. Chan Young listened. He did not interrupt. He did not offer advice or platitudes. He just listened. When she finally ran out of words, he spoke. "The man who left you was a fool." Cecilia shook her head. "He was just ambitious. He wanted more than I could give him." "No," Chan Young's voice was firm. "A man who cannot recognize the value of what he has does not deserve to have it. His ambition blinded him to his greatest asset. That is his loss." Cecilia felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." Chan Young reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. He slid it across the table. "If you ever need anything, a job, advice, someone to talk to, call this number." Cecilia looked at the card. It was simple and elegant, just his name and a phone number embossed in gold. "Why would you help me? We just met." Chan Young stood, tucking his book under his arm. "Because kindness is the only weapon that becomes stronger the more you use it," he said. "And because something tells me you are worth helping." He dropped several bills on the table, more than enough to cover everything, and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he paused and looked back. "It was nice to meet you, Cecilia. I hope the rain stops soon." Then he was gone. Cecilia sat alone in the restaurant, holding his business card like a lifeline. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but somehow the world felt a little less cold. Cecilia did not call the number for 2 weeks. Every day, she pulled out the business card and stared at it. Every night, she put it back in her wallet without dialing. The fear of disappointment was too strong. The fear that his kindness had been a one-time thing, that he would not remember her, that she would be just another desperate person asking for help. But then her landlord raised the rent. Her unemployment benefits ran out, and the last company she had interviewed with sent her a generic rejection email. She had nothing left to lose. The phone rang 3 times before someone answered. Park Industries, how may I direct your call? Cecilia hesitated. I'm looking for Chan Young. Someone named Chan Young gave me this number. There was a brief pause. May I ask who is calling? Cecilia Reed. We met at a restaurant a few weeks ago. He said I could call if I ever needed. Please hold. Music played for exactly 15 seconds. Then a familiar voice came on the line. Cecilia. Her heart jumped. You remember me? Of course. There was warmth in his voice. I was hoping you would call. How are you? Honestly, not great. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're probably incredibly busy, but you said if I ever needed anything. Where are you right now? The question surprised her. My apartment in Queens. Give me your address. I will send a car. What? No, you don't have to. Cecilia. His voice was gentle but firm. Let me help you, that is all I ask. An hour later, a black sedan pulled up in front of her building. The driver opened the door for her like she was someone important. She was taken to a restaurant in Manhattan, not the same Korean place where they had met, but somewhere even nicer. Private, exclusive, the kind of place that did not list prices on the menu. Chan Young was waiting at a corner table. He rose when she approached. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything. Cecilia gestured vaguely at the restaurant, the car, all of it. This is too much. It is exactly enough. He pulled out her chair for her. Please, sit. Over dinner, they talked about her situation, the job search, the mounting bills, the feeling of drowning without anyone to throw her a rope. Chan Young listened the same way he had at their first meeting, attentively, completely. When she finished, he made her an offer. I have a friend who runs a marketing firm in the city. They are looking for someone with fresh perspectives. It is an entry-level position, but the salary is fair and the opportunities for growth are real. Cecilia's eyes widened. Are you serious? I do not make offers I am not serious about. But why? Why are you doing all this for someone you barely know? Chan Young was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she had ever heard it. Because I know what it feels like to be underestimated, to have people look at you and see only what they expect to see, not what you truly are. He met her eyes. I see you, Cecilia, and I think you are extraordinary. Cecilia felt something shift inside her. Something that had been frozen for a very long time began to thaw. I don't know what to say. Say yes, take the job, build your life back up. That is all the thanks I need. She took the job. Over the following months, Cecilia threw herself into her new role. She worked harder than she had ever worked before. She learned. She grew. She proved to herself that Derek had been wrong about her. And through it all, Chan Young was there. He did not push. He did not pressure. He simply made himself available. He sent her books, philosophy, history, poetry, with handwritten notes explaining why each one made him think of her. He took her to hidden corners of the city that only longtime New Yorkers knew. A bakery in Queens that made bread using a century-old recipe, a rooftop garden in Brooklyn with views of the entire Manhattan skyline, a jazz club in Harlem where the musicians played until 3 a.m. He asked about her day. He remembered small details she had mentioned weeks earlier. He made her feel seen in ways she had never experienced with Derek. But Cecilia also started noticing things. The men who followed at a distance whenever they went out. The way restaurant owners bowed when Chan Young entered. The phone calls he took in Korean, his voice shifting to something harder and colder. One evening, after a movie at his penthouse in Greenwich, Connecticut, she finally gathered the courage to ask. Chan Young, who are you really? He was standing at the window, looking out at the distant lights of the city. His back was to her, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. "Why do you ask?" "Because people don't act the way people act around you unless they're afraid. And people don't have the kind of security you have unless they have enemies." Chan Young was silent for a long moment. "If I tell you the truth," he said finally, "you may want to leave, and I could not blame you." "Tell me anyway." He turned to face her. His expression was guarded, but there was vulnerability beneath the mask. "My family built an empire," he said. "Some of it is legitimate, real estate, investments, import and export, but some of it exists in the spaces between laws, the gray areas that governments pretend do not exist." Cecilia's pulse quickened, but she kept her voice steady. "What kind of gray areas?" "Protection, dispute resolution, influence." He paused. "I am the one who protects our empire. I make decisions that would horrify most people. I have enemies who would hurt you just to hurt me." The words hung in the air between them. Cecilia should have been terrified. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was dangerous, that she should thank him for everything he had done and walk away while she still could. But she thought about Derek, about how he had made her feel small and worthless, about how Chan Young made her feel seen and valued. "If I wanted to leave right now," she said slowly, "what would you do?" "I would have my driver take you home. I would never contact you again. No judgment, no anger." His voice was steady, but she could see the pain in his eyes. "I would rather lose you honestly than keep you through deception." Cecilia stood. She walked across the room until she was standing directly in front of him. "I'm not going anywhere." Chan Young stared at her like she had spoken in a language he did not understand. "Cecilia, I'm not naive. I know there are things about your world that will scare me, things I won't understand, things I might not approve of." She reached up and touched his face. "But I have spent my whole life playing it safe, and where did that get me? Alone, broken, invisible." She took a breath. "With you, I feel alive. I feel strong. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be without apologizing for it." Her eyes searched his. "If that comes with risks, then I'm willing to take them, because you are worth it." Chan Young's composure cracked. Just for a moment, something raw and desperate flickered across his features. "You do not know what you are saying." "Then show me your world. Let me decide for myself." He reached up and covered her hand with his own. "If you stay," he said quietly, "you become mine, not as property, as my partner, my equal, and I become yours completely. Do you understand what that means?" "I think I do." "There will be no going back." Cecilia smiled, the first real smile she had given anyone in years. "Good. I don't want to go back. I only want to go forward, with you." Chan Young pulled her into his arms. He held her like she was the most precious thing in the universe, like he had been waiting his whole life for someone to see past his exterior and choose the complicated man beneath. "I will protect you," he whispered against her hair. "I will cherish you. I will never make you feel small. I swear it." Cecilia closed her eyes and let herself be held. For the first time since Derek had shattered her, she felt whole. Back in the present, Derek Holloway sat in the reception area of Park Industries for exactly 12 minutes after being escorted from Chan Young's office. He was in shock, complete paralyzing shock. Vanessa had tried to talk to him, asking what happened, demanding to know why he looked like he had seen a ghost. But Derek could not form words. He just stared straight ahead, replaying the conversation in his mind. "Your proposal is denied. Every major development firm will know you are unworthy of partnership. You are a parasite." When his brain finally started working again, the shock transformed into fury. How dare they? How dare Cecilia look at him like he was nothing? How dare some Korean businessman threaten to destroy everything Derek had built? He was Derek Holloway. He was a rising star. He had connections of his own. He would not go down without a fight. "We're leaving," he said to Vanessa, standing abruptly. "What happened in there? Why didn't you come back with a deal?" "I don't want to talk about it. Derek, I sat here for almost an hour. I deserve to know. I said I don't want to talk about it. His voice was loud enough to make the security guards look over. Vanessa's face went red with embarrassment. Fine, she said coldly. But this better not affect our plans. My father expects to see results from this partnership. Derek grabbed her arm and practically dragged her toward the elevator. His mind was racing with plans, with schemes, with revenge. Chan Young Park thought he could intimidate Derek into submission. He thought his money and his influence made him untouchable. He was wrong. Derek had spent his entire career learning how to fight dirty, how to find weaknesses and exploit them, how to destroy people who got in his way. If Chan Young wanted a war, Derek would give him one. 3 days later, Cecilia received a phone call from an unknown number. She almost did not answer. She had been getting spam calls all week, but something made her pick up. Hello. Is this Cecilia? The voice was female, familiar somehow. Who is this? My name is Vanessa. We met a few days ago at Park Industries. Cecilia's grip on her phone tightened. I remember you. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but we need to talk. It's important. Why would I want to talk to you? Vanessa was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller than before, more human. Because Derek is planning something bad, and I think you need to know about it. They agreed to meet at a coffee shop in Newport Beach, where Vanessa had family. It was far enough from New York that they were unlikely to be spotted by anyone who knew Derek. Cecilia did not tell Chan Young about the meeting. She wanted to hear what Vanessa had to say first, wanted to understand the threat before bringing it to him. When she arrived at the coffee shop, Vanessa was already there. She looked different than she had at Park Industries, less polished, more anxious. The mask of superiority had slipped, revealing someone who was scared. Thank you for coming, Vanessa said as Cecilia sat down. Talk fast. I don't have a lot of patience for whatever game you're playing. It's not a game. Vanessa pulled out her phone and set it on the table. I overheard Derek on a call last night. He's contacting tabloid reporters. He's reaching out to people who have problems with the Park family. He's trying to dig up dirt on Chan Young and expose your relationship to the media. Cecilia's blood ran cold. Why would he do that? Because he's desperate. Whatever happened in that meeting destroyed his career. His investors are pulling out. His partners are distancing themselves. He blames you and Chan Young, and he's determined to take you both down. And why are you telling me this? Vanessa looked down at her coffee. Because I've been where you were. Cecilia frowned. What do you mean? Derek and I have been together for about a year. At first, he was charming, attentive. He made me feel special. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Sound familiar. Cecilia said nothing. Then I started seeing the real him. The way he talked about the women he dated before me. The way he treated servers and assistants like they were beneath him. The way he would tear me down whenever I did something he didn't approve of. Vanessa finally looked up. Her eyes were glistening. He told me about you, you know. He said you were pathetic, needy. He said dumping you was the best decision he ever made. She paused. But when I saw you at Park Industries, you didn't look pathetic. You looked powerful. And the way that man looked at you, Derek has never looked at me that way. No one has. Cecilia felt something unexpected. Compassion. This woman had been her enemy an hour ago. Now she looked like a survivor recognizing another survivor. Why help me? You're still with him. Not for long. Vanessa slid her phone across the table. I recorded his phone calls. I took screenshots of his texts. Everything you need to know what he's planning. Cecilia looked at the phone, then back at Vanessa. And what do you want in return? Nothing. I just want out. I want to get away from him before he drags me down with him. Vanessa stood. I'm flying to my aunt's house in San Jose tonight. I won't be coming back to New York. I won't be answering Derek's calls. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't exist. She gathered her things. One more thing, she said at the door. When Derek falls, and he will fall, don't feel sorry for him. He made his choices. Now he gets to live with them. Then she was gone. Cecilia sat alone in the coffee shop, staring at the phone full of evidence. Her heart was pounding. Her mind was racing. This was war, and she needed to tell Chan Young immediately. Chan Young's reaction to the evidence was not what Cecilia expected. She had anticipated anger, rage, maybe even fear. Instead, he listened to everything she told him with an expression of complete calm. He scrolled through the recordings and screenshots without a single change in his demeanor. When he finally set the phone down, he looked at Cecilia. "This is valuable intelligence. You were right to bring it to me." "That's it. That's your response. Derek is trying to destroy us and you're just calm." Chan Young stood and walked to the window of his office. The Manhattan skyline stretched before him, a kingdom of glass and steel. "I learned a long time ago that emotion is the enemy of strategy," he said. "Derek expects me to react with anger. He expects me to make mistakes. I will not give him that satisfaction." He turned to face her. "Besides, he has made a critical error. He has underestimated me. He does not understand the resources at my disposal. He does not understand the network of relationships I have spent decades cultivating." A small smile crossed his face. "He thinks he is playing chess. He does not realize I have already won." Cecilia walked over to him. "What are you going to do?" "I am going to give him exactly what he wants." "What?" "Derek is looking for a scandal, a weakness, something he can exploit." Chan Young's smile widened. "I am going to feed him false information, a fabricated story so compelling that he will not be able to resist going public with it. And when he does, I will expose him for the fraud he is." Cecilia felt a chill run down her spine, not from fear, from admiration. "That's brilliant." "It is efficient. Derek will destroy himself. I will simply provide the rope." Over the next 2 weeks, Chan Young's team executed the plan with surgical precision. They leaked information through channels they knew Derek was monitoring. A fake scandal about Park Industries, a fabricated federal investigation, hints of financial impropriety that would make any journalist salivate. Derek took the bait. He reached out to tabloid reporters, promising them the story of the year. He contacted rivals of the Park family, offering his evidence in exchange for money and career opportunities. He worked tirelessly to build a case that would bring Chan Young crashing down. He never suspected that every piece of information he had was poison. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. "Park Industries Air under federal investigation," the headlines screamed. "Sources reveal criminal ties and money laundering." The article quoted multiple anonymous sources. It included documents that looked authentic. It painted a damning picture of Chan Young and his family's business empire. For exactly 6 hours, the internet exploded. Social media lit up with speculation. Cable news devoted segments to the scandal. Competitors of Park Industries released statements expressing their shock and concern. Derek watched it all from his apartment, grinning from ear to ear. He had done it. He had taken down Chan Young Park. Then, at precisely 2 in the afternoon, everything changed. Chan Young's lawyers held a press conference in the lobby of Park Industries headquarters. They released a trove of evidence proving that the entire scandal was fabricated. Documents showing that the leaked materials were fake. Recordings of Derek discussing his scheme with tabloid reporters. Text messages proving that he had manufactured evidence to destroy an innocent man's reputation. The reporters who had published the original story immediately began backtracking. Retractions were issued within hours. By evening, Derek's name was trending on social media, but not as a hero. As a fraud, a liar, a desperate man who had tried to destroy someone else's life and failed spectacularly. His company fired him the next morning. His investors pulled out by noon. By sunset, Derek Holloway was unemployed, unemployable, and facing the possibility of criminal charges for defamation and fraud. Vanessa, true to her word, had already disappeared. She posted a single message on her Instagram before deleting her account entirely. "Never date a man who tears women down to feel tall." She included screenshots of Derek's most damaging messages, the ones where he mocked his previous girlfriends and bragged about manipulating them. The post went viral. By the end of the week, Derek Holloway was not just a failed businessman. He was a cautionary tale, a symbol of toxic masculinity and entitled cruelty. His fall was complete. Cecilia watched the news coverage from Chan Young's penthouse, a cup of tea growing cold in her hands. She should have felt triumphant. This was everything she had dreamed about in the dark months after Derek left her. The ultimate revenge. The complete destruction of the man who had made her feel worthless. But instead, she felt strangely empty. Chan Young sat beside her, his hand resting on her knee. "You are quiet," he observed. "I thought this would feel different." "How did you expect it to feel?" Cecilia considered the question. "Satisfying, victorious, like all the pain he caused me was finally being balanced. And instead I just feel tired and a little sad." She looked at Chan Young. "Is that strange?" He shook his head. "It is human. Revenge is never as fulfilling as we imagine it will be. It is a meal that leaves you hungry no matter how much you consume." "Then why did you do all this?" Chan Young was quiet for a moment. "Because some actions cannot go unanswered. Derek did not just hurt you in the past. He tried to hurt you again in the present. He tried to destroy me to get to you. That is not something I can ignore." He turned to face her fully. "But I did not do this for revenge. I did it for protection, for deterrence. Anyone who thinks about coming after you now will remember what happened to Derek Holloway. They will think twice." Cecilia nodded slowly. She understood. In Chan Young's world, weakness was an invitation to attack. Sometimes you had to show strength to maintain peace. "What happens to him now?" she asked. "That depends on him. If he is smart, he will disappear quietly, rebuild his life somewhere far from here, learn from his mistakes." Chan Young paused. "If he is foolish, he will try something else, and then I will respond accordingly." "You won't." "No," Chan Young's voice was firm. "I do not believe in violence as a first resort, or a second. Derek is a small man who overestimated himself. He is not worth bloodshed, but he needed to learn that actions have consequences." Cecilia leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. "I never thought I would end up here," she said. "When I was with Derek, I thought my life was as good as it would get. A mediocre relationship with a mediocre man, going through mediocre motions until I died." She tilted her head up to look at him. "Then you walked into that restaurant and changed everything. You showed me that I deserved better, that I was capable of better, that my worth was not determined by how some insecure man treated me." Chan Young kissed her forehead. "You would have found your worth eventually, with or without me. I simply helped you find it faster." "Maybe, but I'm glad it was with you." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set over the city. 1 month after Derek's downfall, Chan Young came to Cecilia with a proposal. They were having dinner at a restaurant in Beverly Hills, one of Chan Young's favorite spots when he was on the West Coast. The food was exceptional, the wine was expensive, and the privacy was guaranteed. Chan Young waited until their dessert arrived before speaking. "I have been thinking about your career." Cecilia looked up from her creme brulee. "What about it?" "You have spent the past 8 months proving yourself at the marketing firm. Your performance reviews are exceptional. Your ideas have generated significant revenue. Your colleagues respect you. But you are working for someone else, building their dream, using your talents to enrich their vision." Chan Young leaned forward. "I think you should be building your own dream instead." Cecilia frowned. "I can't afford to start my own company. I barely have any savings yet." "I can." She stared at him. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that I want to invest in your future. I want to provide the startup capital for your own marketing firm, a company that you would own completely, that you would build yourself. That would be yours, no matter what happens between us." Cecilia's heart was racing. "Chan Young, that's too much. I can't accept that kind of money from you." "It is not a gift. It is a business investment. I believe in your abilities. I have seen your work. You are brilliant, Cecilia. You deserve to lead, not follow. She shook her head. But what if I fail? What if I can't make it work? Chan Young reached across the table and took her hand. Then you will have learned valuable lessons and you will try again. But I do not think you will fail. I think you will succeed beyond your own expectations, and I want to be part of making that happen. Tears welled up in Cecilia's eyes. Why are you like this? Like what? So generous, so supportive, she searched for the right word. Good. Chan Young smiled. I am many things, Cecilia. Some of them are good, some of them are not. But when it comes to you, I find that being good is easy. You make me want to be better. Cecilia wiped her eyes with her napkin, laughing at herself. You are going to make me ruin my makeup. You are beautiful with or without makeup. Stop being charming. I'm trying to have a serious emotional moment here. Chan Young laughed. It was a rare sound from him, warm and genuine. Fine, I will be serious. Will you accept my investment? Will you let me help you build something of your own? Cecilia looked at him for a long moment. At this man who had found her at her lowest point and helped her rise, who had defended her honor against her cruel ex, who believed in her when she was still learning to believe in herself. Yes, she said, I will. 6 months later, Cecilia's marketing firm launched. She called it Reed Creative Agency. She wanted her name on it, wanted to reclaim the identity that Derek had tried to diminish. The first year was hard. Starting a business always was. There were long nights and difficult clients and moments when Cecilia wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. But she pushed through. By the end of the first quarter, she had landed 3 major clients. A luxury fashion brand based in Seattle that wanted to expand their digital presence. A tech startup from San Jose that needed help with their product launch. A restaurant group from Miami that wanted to rebrand. By the end of the first year, Forbes featured her in their annual spotlight on emerging entrepreneurs. The headline read, From Personal Tragedy to Professional Triumph, How Cecilia Reed Built a Marketing Empire. Cecilia read the article in her new office in Manhattan, surrounded by the team she had built. She thought about the woman she had been just 2 years earlier. Broken, hopeless, invisible. Now she was a CEO, a leader, a success. And more importantly, she was happy. Chan Young attended the launch party for her firm. He stayed in the background, letting her have her moment. But every time she looked his way, she caught him watching her with an expression that made her heart swell. Pride, respect, love. Later that night, in his penthouse, he held her close. I am so proud of you, he said. I couldn't have done it without you. That is not true. You did the work. You took the risks. You built this yourself. I simply provided some resources. Cecilia pulled back to look at him. You provided so much more than that. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's worth more than any amount of money. Chan Young's eyes softened. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me, Cecilia. I hope you know that. I do, and you are the best thing that has ever happened to me. They held each other in the darkness, 2 people who had found something rare and precious in a world that often seemed cruel and cold. 1 year later, Cecilia stood on the rooftop terrace of the newest Park Industries property in Beverly Hills. The city stretched beneath her, glittering with lights as the sun set over the Pacific Ocean. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink and gold. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Chan Young stood beside her, his hand warm in hers. He was looking at the view, but she knew he was really looking at her. She had learned to recognize that particular quality of attention. Do you remember the first night we really talked? He asked. At the Korean restaurant in Tribeca. Cecilia smiled. How could I forget? I was soaking wet and completely broke. You paid for my meal and told me I had pride. I also told you that the world was cruel enough, that you deserved a moment of kindness. You did. Chan Young turned to face her fully. His expression was serious, but there was warmth beneath the gravity. Do you remember what I said when you decided to stay? After I told you the truth about my world? Cecilia nodded. You said if I stayed, I would become yours, and you would become mine. I meant every word. Chan Young reached into his jacket pocket. I have always meant every word when it comes to you. He pulled out a small velvet box. Cecilia's breath caught in her throat. Chan Young opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant. A single diamond that caught the dying sunlight perfectly, throwing rainbow fragments across her face. I am not proposing because I want to own you, he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. I am proposing because you already own me. Every decision I make, every empire I build, every breath I take, it all means nothing without you beside me. He got down on one knee. The powerful, commanding man who made other men tremble was kneeling before her, his heart in his hands. Cecilia Reed, will you marry me? Cecilia's eyes overflowed with tears. She did not try to stop them. She let them fall freely, tracking silver lines down her cheeks. She thought about everything that had led to this moment. The pain, the heartbreak, the long dark nights when she wondered if she would ever feel whole again. She thought about Derek and the way he had discarded her. She thought about how she had almost let his cruelty define her worth. But she had not. She had survived. She had rebuilt. She had risen. And now she was standing on a rooftop in Beverly Hills, looking at a man who loved her fiercely and completely. A man who had seen her at her worst and helped her become her best. A man who challenged her and supported her and made her feel like the most precious thing in the universe. Yes, she whispered, then louder, laughing through her tears. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Chan Young's face transformed. The stoic, controlled mask fell away completely, revealing a joy so pure that it made Cecilia's heart ache. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been made for her. Then he stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her with a tenderness that said more than words ever could. When they finally pulled apart, they stood together, looking out at the city below. Somewhere in a cheap apartment in a forgotten neighborhood, Derek Holloway was scrolling through job listings. His career was in ruins. His reputation was destroyed. Every door he tried to open slammed shut in his face. He was blacklisted from the industry he had once dreamed of conquering. He saw the engagement announcement later that night. A friend, former friend, sent him a link with a mocking message. Looks like your ex really did upgrade. The headline read, Park Air engaged 2 marketing mavens Cecilia Reed. The photo showed them on that Beverly Hills rooftop. Cecilia in a white dress that probably cost more than Derek's car. Chan Young in a tailored suit, looking at her like she was the center of the universe. They looked happy, they looked powerful, they looked untouchable. Derek threw his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. But it did not change anything. It could not undo what he had done. It could not bring back the woman he had discarded or the career he had destroyed. He was nothing now, less than nothing. A cautionary tale about what happens when arrogance collides with karma. Cecilia did not know about Derek's misery. She did not think about him at all. She was too busy kissing her fiancé, too busy planning a future that once seemed impossible, too busy being happy. As the sun disappeared below the horizon and the city lights flickered on one by one, Cecilia realized something beautiful. The best revenge was never about destruction. It was never about tearing someone else down to make yourself feel better. The best revenge was becoming so happy, so successful, so complete, that the people who once hurt you became nothing more than distant memories, faint echoes of a pain that no longer had any power. She had survived Derek's cruelty. She had survived her own despair. She had survived and grown and blossomed into someone she was proud to be. And now she was engaged to a man who loved her fiercely. She was the owner of a thriving business. She was surrounded by people who valued her. She was finally free. Cecilia leaned into Chan Young's embrace, feeling the warmth of his body against hers. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For finding me, for believing in me, for loving me. Chan Young kissed the top of her head. Thank you for letting yourself be found, for believing in yourself, for loving me back." The city sparkled below them. The stars emerged above. And Cecilia Reed, once broken and discarded, stepped into her new life as a woman who had learned the most powerful lesson of all. She was enough. She had always been enough. She just needed to find someone who could see it. Thank you for watching to the end. Please remember to click the subscribe button and make sure you like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Thank you.